Wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy, the pandemic sweeping the nation isn't as deadly as misinformation. It's mild, this is fine. Everybody's gonna get it in time. Sure, millions more will likely die, but we're willing to make the sacrifice. We've got no souls, we're sociopaths. Eugenics, Nazi style, bringing it back. They wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy, even the government and public health tell you you don't need to protect yourself. Drop the masks, we're quite insistent, though Omicron is vaccine resistant. Hey look, now Delta's morphed with Omicron, and reinfection proves immunity's gone. We can't stop the gaslighting now. We're gonna have herd immunity somehow. They wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy. Wait, there's a price if we let it spread. It's bad for business when the sick and dead. Long COVID's a tricky thing. It lasts for years, it's mass disabling. What if they figure out it makes no sense? Can we be charged with negligence? Never mind, the damage is done, and everybody's got the blinders on. They wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy, they wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy. Nothing to see here, go back to bed. The rich get richer and the poor get dead. We're happy to feed your delusions, reckless complacency and confusion. Sure, alarmists tried to warn you all, but the careless never heed the call. Apocalypse of apathy. No one cares, not even CDC. Hospitals and morgues tell the real story, but change the subject, don't say you're sorry, and hide the evidence. No reporting or testing. It's with, not for, just keep on guessing. It's in the air and no one cares. Unaware and no one cares. Life's not fair and no one cares. It's hard to bear and no one cares. They wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. Wanna let it rip, so R.I.P. It's an apocalypse of apathy. Millions dying ain't a tragedy. At the altar of economy, the pandemic sweeping the nation isn't as deadly as misinformation. It's mild, this is fine. Everybody's gonna get it in time. Sure, millions more will like.
Hi. So where do I begin? Well, most of our videos are lighthearted. We've done silly things with Ali, we've done fashion shows, we just had the camping in the tent thing, so happy at home and we do fun things, but I wanted to talk about something serious because I think it's very important, and everyone's acting like the pandemic is over, and it's far from over. It's quite the opposite. Things have not gotten better, they've gotten worse. The only thing that's changed is that now people aren't worrying anymore. They're acting like COVID is over. So back in 2020, we didn't hear about COVID until March, because at that time, March 2020, they were going to be closing down the schools. So we went into lockdown, and we thought it was just going to be for a few weeks and then this would be over with, right? So the lockdown ended, and then people just had to wear masks and physical distancing. They had signs out and they had things spaced out in like grocery stores so that you would stay away from people. Well, over time, they've learned more and more about the virus. A lot of people were saying that COVID was airborne, you know, very early on, but they still were clinging to this whole idea that it was droplet, and they kept cleaning surfaces, and they had the plexiglass barriers and all these things based on it being droplet. Well, now everyone has acknowledged COVID is airborne, so you do breathe it in. So masks are very important. In the beginning, we were wearing cloth masks. We thought that was enough, and staying the 6 feet apart. Well, once I knew that COVID was airborne, and once Delta was circulating, which was far more transmissible, I upgraded to N95 masks. In the beginning, you couldn't even get them. It was just for healthcare workers. But now they were available, so we started wearing N95 masks. Now we were home most of the time. She's been homeschooling since March. So the only place we went was the grocery store. Yeah. And it was always stressful because we tried to stay away from people. We had our masks, but, you know,
there was always a certain type of grocery store anxiety. It's a specific type of anxiety on its own. Like anywhere else, it would be different.
Especially you'd see somebody with like the mask under their nose and they're coughing, or they take their mask off to talk on the cell phone, and it's like,
that's so annoying.
Or sometimes the aisle was so crowded and you couldn't even get around and you're waiting. Anyways, it was stressful. So once I could start ordering groceries at home, we started ordering them. So we didn't even have to go through that. So we weren't going to places like that. So over time, we've been going out less and less. Well, then this year, I had problems with my front door. Like, we were literally locked in.
Yeah.
So we weren't going out at all.
Well, especially for me, Mama was climbing out the window to get packages, which you saw in another video for fixing the lock. But I was like staying in the entire time. I didn't go outside at all.
So she wasn't outside. So our first time outside, we went for a walk, and she was quite nervous. Like, we masked, and I mean, okay, so a lot of people say there's no transmission outdoors, or very minimal risk. But to me, I would rather have the mask because you have no control over who's coming toward you. And if you're walking on a path and somebody's unmasked and they're coughing in your face, like, I just don't want that possibility. So to me, wear an N95 mask. But to her, like, even with the N95 mask, she was nervous.
Okay, so for me, so I saw this movie once called Kimmy. It was a great movie, really recommend. But she was horrified of going outside. And she was like all tensed up, and I didn't understand that until I actually felt it. I was horrified. I was so tensed up. It was horrifying.
Well, then now, okay, so, I mean, I've made her afraid, but it was to keep her safe. Yeah. I wanted her to know the risks. I mean, there are kids running around and playing like it's 2019 and they're not worrying. To me, it's better to be safe than sorry, but I don't want her to be that afraid that she doesn't even want to go outside. But, I mean, I just don't know what you can do, because...
You keep me alive.
Well, and this is the thing, and people would say, oh, you're living in fear, but... It's not living in fear if you're adapting to an emergency. It's survival. You adapt to survive. And risk aversion is a sign of intelligence. You assess risks and you say, okay, this isn't worth my life. Now, there are some people that are still saying that COVID is nothing, that it's just a cold, that it's a flu. And many people do recover and they think that they're okay, and then months later they can wind up with long COVID. The CDC has finally just acknowledged long COVID. They're saying that 1 in 5 people wind up with long COVID. It's actually more like half from what I've heard. It's grossly underreported, but the symptoms can be anywhere from fatigue to aches and pains, loss of your smell and taste, mobility issues, cognitive dysfunction, problems with your heart, with all of your organs. COVID can cause inflammation. And the thing is, even after a mild or asymptomatic case, you think you've recovered, and then months later, you can wind up with this. So this is a mass disabling event. And now everyone is acting like COVID's over, that this is fine, it's normal. They're dropping mitigations, they're dropping mask mandates. You don't have to wear masks, even on flights. Like, this is how COVID spread to begin with around the globe. International travel, why on earth would you get on a plane without a mask? It's sheer insanity. They want to let it rip. And living with COVID means letting people die. People that are immunocompromised, they're in danger. And some people are so complacent and reckless, they've turned into sociopaths, they literally don't care if people die. Like, how many deaths would be enough for you to be concerned? And everyone thinks it won't happen to them. But the problem is, death isn't even the only severe outcome. You can wind up disabled the rest of your life, and people are still risking it. Now, what's really frustrating, I mean, when it's just trolls online on Twitter, I can just block them. But my own mother now is sounding like she's listened too much to this gaslighting from government and public health. And she's, oh, cases are down. It was on the news. Of course, cases are down. They stopped testing. Of course, numbers are down if you don't count them. They have no idea how bad it is. They're just letting it rip. Now, no masks in schools. Schools were already unsafe. Now they're letting it run rampant in children. And then, oh my God. So all of a sudden, all around the world, all these mysterious cases of hepatitis started coming up. And they're trying to blame lockdowns and dogs. Yeah, the lockdown from 2 years ago, that must have caused it. Like, come on. And dogs? They didn't want to admit it's SARS-2 because they caused this by sending kids off like lambs to the slaughter in unsafe schools, unmasked. It is not healthy to keep getting infected. And this is the other problem. They wanted to believe in herd immunity, that if you just let it rip and infect the whole population, oh yeah, well, those that are unwell and old, they'll die, but the rest of us will be healthier. Wrong. You can be infected and reinfected over and over, cause damage to your organs and inflammation. Hepatitis is inflammation of the liver. All these kids were infected with COVID. That's what they have in common. Not a lockdown, not dogs. COVID. We don't even know. This is just the tip of the iceberg of what can happen. And I realize, I say these things and in arguments with my mother on the phone, and Michelle has heard this, so I've made her afraid. She's even more cautious than me now. Yeah. That, I feel safe in my N95. She's like, even with that, even outdoors, she's still worrying. So we visited my mother for Mother's Day. We wore N95 masks, and I told wore N95 masks, and I told her we are keeping our masks on even outside. So my mom was not pleased about it. She was quite upset, and then I visited again, made the mistake of visiting again for my birthday. And once again, the N95 masks, and my mom was carrying on like that we're paranoid, that we're mentally ill.
Especially for me. Like, my mama, she went around grandma's, she was talking with her, but I was way more stressed out than her, at least visibly. Like, I was paranoid. I didn't want anyone around me. Everyone stay away. I need to be away from everybody.
Well, and that hurt Grandma's feelings because she's used to hugging you and everything. Like, she didn't understand that you're nervous. You don't want to be near her now. And she blames me that I've made you afraid. But it's like, I wanted you to be safe and keep you safe. So I don't know what the answer is, because the answer is certainly not let it rip. This is mass disabling. Like, you can't have, 1 in 2 or even 1 in 5 people disabled the rest of their lives. You can't have children needing liver transplants. Like, this is not normal. There is no back to normal. You have to find a way forward. You deal with the environment that we're in. The pandemic's not going away. Now there's monkeypox to worry about, by the way, which I really hope that's not serious, because if they handle it as badly as they did COVID, then God help us. But we're just staying away from everyone, so we'll be fine. I don't know if monkeypox is airborne. I mean, probably, but I also wouldn't touch anyone with big boils all over their body, but whatever. Just
I wouldn't touch anyone at all. I'm staying away from everybody.
Stay away from people. And I mean, and Michelle's happy at home. Like we laugh, we have fun, we play. It's not like she's miserable. She's adapted to being at home. She was a very social kid. Like she had lots of friends and she loved, but now she's gotten used to being home because.
And what's great about me, it's not just that I'm a little bit of an introvert and a little bit of an extrovert. I'm what I call the adapter. I can be an introvert when I need to be and an extrovert when I need to be. If I'm in a social situation, I'm going to be an extrovert and I'm going to enjoy it. But if I need to be inside to stay alive, I'm an introvert for the rest of my life as long as I need to be. And I'm perfectly happy with that outcome.
Yeah, it's hard because people want to act like there's something wrong with you if you're being cautious. The thing is, if you're overly cautious and you avoid disaster, there's no way of proving that you were right because the disaster didn't happen and they'll say you overreacted. But if you're reckless, you know, you might get lucky, maybe you won't get ill, maybe you won't die. But your choice to be reckless affects others as well. Our choice to be safe hurts no one.
Yeah.
We're not harming anyone by staying safe. But somebody that doesn't want to wear a mask, goes around coughing, infects people. Like I've heard stories of people that knew they were COVID positive and still got on a plane and still went on their trips because they didn't want to disappoint their co-workers. Or like, I don't understand how even people that are otherwise logical, decent humans are suddenly, all of a sudden, sociopaths, and they don't care if they spread a virus that's killed 15 million people, and who knows how many hundreds of millions with long COVID. Like, it's not okay. Your choices affect others. And people get so mad at you for wearing a mask. Like, I wear a mask to get the mail. I had some woman say, oh, my dog's barking at you. He's not used to seeing someone in a mask. I'm like, 2 years into a pandemic? Why not? Like, it's just crazy. And some people have even been bullied, like kids at school, the ones that are still smart enough to wear a mask, they're being bullied because, oh, and you're living in fear.
I'm so lucky to be homeschooled. Some children don't have the privilege to be homeschooled to wear N95 masks. I find wearing a mask to be a privilege that some people don't have. I'm very thankful to be homeschooled, to be wearing a mask, to have a nice mama, to be happy and healthy. And some people don't have that privilege. So I'm really happy that I have all those things.
Yeah, that's the thing, is a lot of people don't have a choice, right? Like, I'm glad I could keep her home from school. Some people didn't have that option. They had to go out to work. And some people don't have access to health care. And I mean, the case fatality rate differs from each country. So in some it's as high as 6%, in some it might be under 1%. The other thing was they thought the vaccines were the cure. They thought once you've been vaccinated, oh, you don't have to worry, you know, now we can go back to normal. Well, no, you can't. You can still be infected and reinfected. It may reduce your risk of severe illness and death, but it doesn't prevent transmission.
Yeah.
With Omicron and now the BA2, BA4, whatever, you can still keep spreading it. There are breakthrough infections. And this is the thing, they're having super spreader events. Like even the White House. Look at the White House dinner, and Trevor Noah was joking, although he wasn't joking. Everything he said was 100% true. He said, I'm very happy to be at this distinguished super spreader event. Well, look how many got COVID afterwards. I mean, the Queen has COVID, for crying out loud. It sounds like she has long COVID because now she can't even leave the palace and she's very weak. But of course, they'll just say, well, she's old anyway. Yeah, well, she was old before she had COVID too. Like, this is the other thing. They're discounting lives. They downplay the severity and say, oh, well, they were old anyway. They were unwell anyway. But what about the kids that are getting ill? What about strong, young, healthy athletes that now are paralyzed, that they can't even, never mind, they can't play sports, they can't even walk anymore with long COVID? Like, why would you deliberately infect an entire population, even if you only care about the economy? Having a population that's largely sick and dead is not good for the economy either. Like, hello. It's just, I feel like the world's insane right now. It's like living in the emperor's new clothes and everyone's just pretending and nobody wants to say the truth. And it's like, you want to say, hello, the emperor is naked. Like, am I the only one seeing this? It's like living in the Twilight Zone. Everyone else is, this is fine. Oh my God. Grandma even defended, my mom even defended the "this is fine" meme. of the dog sitting in flames. I said, okay, to me, if there's a fire, you yell fire. But then you're called an alarmist and no one wants to listen. And she said, well, if the fire is still going 2 years later, you have to ignore it because it's never going to be gone. She said the pandemic's not going to go away. So she just wants to ignore it. She just wants to pretend it's not happening. She doesn't want to see masks. She doesn't want her granddaughter to wear an N95 mask and keep a distance because she wants to see her family. She wants to see our smiling faces. So I gave her a picture of us smiling without masks.
Yeah, because you're not getting a smile out of me.
I mean, if you want us to smile, then how about we stay alive and healthy?
Yeah.
Like, and I get it. My mom's elderly, and she figures, you know, how many years does she have left?
But
She
what
wants
about
to see
me?
her family.
I'm 9 and
You've
I
got-
don't want to die.
You've got your whole life ahead of you. Not only that, I want you to be healthy.
Yes.
Like, to me, it's playing Russian roulette. Every person thinks it's not going to happen to them. They think they're not going to die. They think they're not going to end up in the hospital. They're not going to get long COVID. But they don't know that. Why would you risk it? It doesn't make any sense. Safe is better than sorry. Prevention is better than cure. It's the precautionary principle. That's what I live by. I don't see why this is so radical and so controversial. Like, everyone else wants to let it rip. They're literally jumping like lemmings off a cliff. And it's like, how do I not comment on this? How do I not say, stop, look what you're doing? It's insane. But then they'll say, I'm the crazy one. We're the crazy ones for being too careful. I'd rather be too careful than not careful enough.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Anyway, that's my rant. I just had to get this off my chest because, and I mean, it does make me sad for her that she doesn't enjoy being outside now and that she's nervous, but I don't know what else to do. Like, she did this amazing picture, which was very sad, but I mean, if she wasn't afraid, she wouldn't be careful. Like, other people are letting kids think everything's fine and you're putting them in harm's way. Your number one job as a parent is to make sure your child feels safe and loved. If you're not doing that, then my God, like, how do you let it rip among children? How can you live with yourself? The kids that have gotten hepatitis because of SARS infection. There is no herd immunity. There is no immunity, period, with Omicron. You can be infected and reinfected, and the virus keeps mutating and getting stronger. The more you let it spread, the worse it is. By trying to pretend that everything's normal, you guarantee that it will never be normal. I mean, this should have been a way forward to live our lives better. Like, when we went into lockdown, pollution went down. What if the virus was the planet's way of saying hello? Like, you got to change how you're living. So everyone just wants to act like this is fine and not do anything about it, but it's not fine. It's like, how many mass shootings before the US will implement gun control? How many natural disasters before we acknowledge climate crisis and act on climate? I mean, no one wants to do anything about anything. Now with the pandemic, they want to let it rip. Like, problems don't go away by ignoring them and just pretending they're not there. It makes them worse. So you have to respond, you have to do something, you have to change how you live. Like, maybe we could save the planet. Maybe this could have been a reset. When everyone was home, when there was a lockdown and pollution went down, maybe that was a sign. Maybe more people should be working from home. Maybe you should spend more time with your family. Maybe there shouldn't be so many cars on the road and so much pollution.
Except the exact opposite happened, and now the world's a lot worse.
Well, they wanted to all go back to so-called normal, but that wasn't normal.
This
It was
is
destroying the
normal
planet.
now.
And international travel. If people weren't traveling so much, they wouldn't be spreading so many pandemics. Now the monkeypox thing, it's like people don't want to change. They want to just go, oh yeah, well that's too, oh, another tornado, oh, another flood, oh, that's too bad. And meanwhile, still not reduce carbon emissions. So it's like, you can't just pretend everything's fine when it's not. The problem's not going to go away. You have to acknowledge it. But the thing is, the denialists and the minimizers, the people that want to act like la 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 la, everything's fine, they get mad if you point out the truth to them. It's like that comic. There's the lineup of people waiting for the comforting lies. No one's at the unpleasant truths booth. Well, that's where I would be. I want to know.
too.
I would rather know the unpleasant truth so that I can do something about it, so that I can act on that, so I can mitigate risks, so I can say, okay, well, if 1 in 5 or 1 in 2 people are ending up disabled, I'd rather not do that. Because here's another thing. 10 million children have been orphaned. No one's talking about that. That's a pandemic on its own. 10 million children without their primary caregiver. I'm a single mom. Nothing can happen to me. I need to be here for her. I've been losing weight and working out and trying to get fit because I need to be as healthy and fit as I can be to be her mom and to live a very long time. I'm not playing Russian roulette with my life. I'm not gambling with my health.
Me neither.
It's too important. And I'm not gambling with her life either. Like, other people are so cavalier. Oh, it's just a cold, a flu. Maybe you're willing to risk it. I'm not. And if we choose to wear an N95 mask, it's none of your business. And you have no right bullying someone else and making them feel bad.
Especially if
for
they're
wearing
doing
a
the right
mask.
thing.
Yeah, and I mean, it's bad enough if trolls go on about, oh, fearmonger, but your own mother, like, I'm disappointed in my mom, and we've argued several times.
I'm disappointed in my entire family.
Well, I mean, they want to get back to normal. So everyone else just wants to pretend everything's hunky-dory and go about their lives. And it's like, well, it's not, and I can't do that. I'm not willing to take those risks. I mean, yes, I have PTSD and anxiety, so I'm hyper-vigilant of potential threats. But it's not as though I'm imagining this threat. This is a global threat that has been here for 2 years. It has not gotten better. It's gotten worse. And because people are now letting it run rampant, it's even worse. So those that take precautions, we're not the bad guys. We're the good guys here. We're trying to protect ourselves and others. Those that recklessly are willing to let it rip, they're the crazy ones. I mean, to me, it's like, okay, say in 2020 that there were sharks. There were sharks in the water at the beach, so no one could go to the beach. So for 2 years, they couldn't go back to that beach. Well, now they're like, you know what? I want to go back to the beach. Even though the sharks now, there are more of them, they're deadlier. Now you might lose an arm and a leg, you might die, and yet they're all jumping into the water because they just want to pretend everything's fine now. It's not fine. It's not fine. It's so frustrating. And my mom says, well, why do you go on Twitter? Why do you even listen out? You're just getting yourself all upset. I want to know the truth. And you can't, and she says, well, if it was true, it would be on the news. On the news, they say cases are down. Of course cases are down because they're not testing
anything.
If you don't count things, if you close your eyes, oh, I don't see anything. Oh, look, no cases. Like, it's magic. See no evil, hear no evil, speak no evil, and it's not there. Ta-da! No, the cases are still there. Look at the wastewater. The poo doesn't lie. You can see the cases in the wastewater. Look at the hospital. Look at the healthcare systems that are collapsing out of control. Everyone wants to pretend it's not happening. It's still happening. Not to mention all the long COVID cases that people won't even know to call it that. All they'll know is that, oh, they thought they were recovered, and months later now they're having all these symptoms. Fatigue and memory loss and cognitive dysfunction and inflammation of their heart and liver and kidney, and like, it's so frustrating, but what can I do? I can't control what they do. I can only control what I do. So we are being safe. That's our choice. That's what we're doing. Now, people act like it's so hard on kids to wear a mask and that it's affecting their mental health, that, you know, kids need to be in school and they don't want to be masked. Well, is this really true, or is this something that they just made up because they all want to let it rip? Because actually, when they did a study, they found kids were happier during lockdown because they were home with their parents and they were safe instead of being thrown to the wolves in unsafe schools. Kids don't mind wearing masks if they know the reason and they know it's to keep them safe. They're not going to mind. They can live with it. Like, look at places where the pollution is so heavy they have to wear a mask to be safe because they can't breathe the air. Like, it's safety, and Michelle doesn't mind wearing a mask.
Yeah, in fact, I like it. Like I said before, wearing a mask is a privilege that I actually really like. It makes me feel safe. In fact, this sounds really weird and kind of sad, but before I was asking, hey Mama, do they have hazmat suits on Amazon?
Oh my God, she wanted a hazmat suit for her birthday. Okay, so like she's picturing the white suit with like a helmet.
All of it.
Almost like an astronaut. She was even saying like sandy cheeks in SpongeBob, like to have a helmet. So anyway, I looked online for fun. I'm like, they had a white suit, but the face is open, so it wouldn't have a helmet. So other than that, you'd still need a mask and a face. So anyway, I got her a face shield because I thought,
and she got me this cool pink hat.
Okay, so I was looking at helmets because like she figured she wants to feel protected. Like if we go on a walk, she wants to feel like she's got the mask, that nothing can come near her, whatever.
Show them?
Go ahead.
Okay,
So-
I'm gonna put on my full suit-ish thing.
I was looking for a helmet, but there wasn't such a thing that she wanted, or they were insanely expensive. So she'd rather wear a mask on top of a mask.
On
And
top
then I
of a
found
mask.
this fisherman's, it's supposed to be a fisherman's hat, but it's got the flap at the back so that you're kind of surrounded. So at least no bugs are going to be coming around. So she'd be safe from West Nile too and anything else.
I got my 3 masks, 295, 2 N95, 1 cloth. I'll put this on after.
Okay. And then this. This
So-
has a built-in mask too.
Okay.
So they're like, she's protected
Wow.
from the sun. She's protected from... Yeah,
It's
so,
perfect. Okay, so let's
it seems a bit extreme, but if she feels safe like that, and
Yeah.
then people are going to be
And this
attacking
is
me
an
like,
anti-flag.
oh, that's crazy, you're a fear-monger, and look, you've made your child live in fear. But she's safe, she's healthy. You know what? We haven't been sick with anything in 2 years. When she was in
Yeah.
school, she was sick with every cough, cold, and flu, because kids are vectors of germs. I'm sorry, but kids spread germs. So schools
Yeah.
would be #1 place for transmission. It was always a lie that schools were safe, because kids always spread anything. So of
now
course they're spreading this.
nothing. I wonder why.
Well, we've been home for 2 years, so we haven't had so much as a sniffle. We used to be sick all the time. But now, because we're not around people, and we wear an N95 mask if we go
Or
out.
3.
But, of course, my mom says this is just being paranoid and mentally ill, but my mom is now on board to let it rip. That's not okay with me, so
Well, then that's paranoid and mentally ill if you're a psychopath too. So
this is adapting. I mean, we've adapted, and
It's
I'm
all
glad
right.
she's happy and she's healthy.
yes.
And she's homeschooling and she loves it. What more can I ask for? Like everyone doesn't have to accept this, obviously.
Yeah.
And some people are going to be very angry about it. But we're not hurting anyone like this. She's happy.
Yeah.
We're keeping everyone safe. Your choices affect others. Like this is the thing, and I know of a few smokers that are also COVID deniers. I think that's not by coincidence. Smokers know that smoking causes cancer, but they're still willing to play Russian roulette. They always think it won't happen to them. They still smoke knowing they could get cancer. But the thing is, there are laws. You're not allowed to smoke around other people. You're not allowed to give other people secondhand smoke and cancer.
Yeah,
But if you're willing to spread COVID and you're not wearing a mask, it's one thing to gamble with your own life.
yeah.
You shouldn't have a right to gamble with someone else's, especially when you don't know that person's story. They could be immunocompromised. They could have someone at home that's immunocompromised. And even if they're not, even healthy people can wind up disabled from COVID with inflammation and all the different neurological
you can
effects.
gamble with your own life as long as it's not hurting anybody else. That's your choice. But when you could possibly be hurting somebody else, then that is absolutely not okay.
Yeah, it's unbelievable how reckless and selfish people can be. It's horrifying to me. I think the apocalypse of apathy is maybe the worst thing about the pandemic, is it's bringing out some of the worst in people that I almost feel like maybe it's a symptom of infection, is it gives you this almost like toxoplasmosis, like this complete lack of survival instinct that now you just, run toward danger and you willingly get infected and infect other people. It's like a zombie apocalypse. It's like, no, thank you. I just avoid people like that. If they attack me online, I block them. And now even my own mother, I told her we'll never visit again because she doesn't accept that we want to stay safe. And she wants us to just bully us into just dropping everything because she wants to see our smiling faces. Well, here's a photo. Here's a photo of us smiling. It's just, we're not going to risk our lives. Like, everyone's got different priorities and perceptions of risk. To me, it is not worth risking your life and your health. So we're going to do the right thing, even if everyone else goes wrong. Even
I'll
if the
just
world's
be here
lost
with
their
my
minds.
15 and 95 masks, being happy and healthy.
So yeah, anyway, that's my rant for now, because I feel like the world's gone crazy. I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone and everyone's just acting like everything's fine, and they act like there's something wrong with you if you're concerned and if you're careful. Well, there's nothing wrong with the precautionary principle. I would always rather be safe than sorry. I would rather avoid disaster than just let it rip and then afterwards say, oh, well, how could we have known? And then act too little too late. And no. So what can you do? I just control what I can, and this is what we're doing. So yeah. So wear a mask, N95, stay safe, avoid travel if you can, avoid people as much as you can. Be smart and be safe. It's not worth the risk. And everyone thinks it won't happen to them. Obviously, many of them are wrong. So be careful. Take care, stay safe, be healthy.
Bye! But I'm wearing. Okay, so of course I showed you this pink hat thing and this visor. It's anti-fog and it also has glasses, so I can put it on like this. I'm also wearing two N95 masks. One's a white one and one's a galaxy one, which I really like. And I'm also wearing a cloth one on top of that. So, oh, this is quite a lot of protection. Just wearing an N95 and a cloth mask, I think gives you like 100.
Yeah, like to me, I feel confident in the N95. To me, that's enough. That's blocking out enough that I feel confident. So that's already 95. Wearing another mask over that, that's more than 100. So this is overkill. You don't need all that. But if you feel safe like that,
I feel safe like this.
Then that's fine. And I mean, most of the time we're home, so she'd only be like that when we're going out. Because at home, she's happy and she's not worried. So. Yeah, I hope they can. I hope they can hear you on the video because it will be
I hope
muffled.
so.
Anyway, okay.
Okay, bye.